Five, four, three, two, one, zero. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
It was basically an online lesson. Like, there was an online textbook, and we had to annotate the textbook online and then go back to a different Google Doc and type out what we were learning. And it just wasn't a good situation.
The major benefit for me is it individualizes learning. Like, every student is different, and this kind of conforms to who we are as a learner. We can go further than what we learn in class.
What you just heard was the voice of one of the student panelists who came to discuss the pros and cons of technology used in the classroom. Hello, welcome to KidCast episode 2. I'm James Wampler, I'll be your host today, and today we'll be discussing the results of our student sound-off. Individuals from different grades within the student body came to discuss what they liked about technology used in the school, what they maybe didn't enjoy so much, techniques of teachers who are using technology to encourage learning, and techniques that are being used that might be antithetical to our overall mission of leading college and career-ready students. The purpose of this particular podcast was to have an honest discussion with students about what works and what doesn't work for them in the classroom, so that we can reflect on and make changes to our instruction and the way that we utilize technology in the classroom. As you listen, it might be a good idea to think about whether or not you hear these things from students, or if you maybe do them yourself, and think about how you can use this feedback to be more effective at communicating your content to 21st century learners. As I listened to the students, I was encouraged by their honesty, I was excited by their enthusiasm, and I was motivated by their constructive criticisms and the realization that I've done some of the things that they universally hate. For those of you wondering about the layout, the discussion covered 5 different sections. Initially, students defined for themselves the pros of technology used in the classroom, followed by the cons of technology used in the classroom. After that, they discussed what positive use of technology in the classroom looks like for them. So, can they think of examples where a teacher has done an activity that's used technology and it's increased learning? After that, what does negative use of technology look like in the classroom? So, are there any times they can think of where a teacher was putting together an activity that used technology but it didn't really drive learning? After that, they had a time where they could offer some advice for their students. And then finally, to cap it off, the final section of this podcast will explore a reflection on what I pulled out of this interaction. I'm hoping that you can pull some lessons from this as well, or at least that you feel more encouraged to have conversations like this with your students. With that being said, let's dive in. The first thing I did with the students was play the high-low game. So students gave me a positive example of what technology does for them, followed by any perceived negatives.
One of my highs is that I have everything there. I can open Google Docs up for different classes, and I'll put them in different folders. And I don't have to carry around so much paper. I'll just need my Chromebook and my charger to have everything around. And another thing is that you have the internet, you have everything at your disposal. You don't have to go look through books to find what you're looking for, and you can get a more broad definition of what you're looking for instead of just actually getting on a book. You look in the book and you just get one definition.
I want to go back to what you were saying about organization. So is that across the board? Do you feel like you're more organized with the computer as opposed to paper, pencil, folders, that kind of thing?
Oh, definitely.
I feel like I can find everything faster than I can.
There's paper cluttered in my backpack right now.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have it all on here.
You can move, and it saves it by itself, so it's even better. Because if you just forget it, then it's already saved on there for you.
Right, okay.
You don't finish something here, you can take it home and finish it. And some people like clicks, the nerdy geeky computer type people, they're cool with it. So if you have something wrong with your Chromebook, you can ask them instead of coming all the way up here and asking old dude in the room next to us.
Well, a high is what it helps me is stay organized. And now we have a folder or two in my backpack.
The major benefit for me is like it individualizes learning. Like every student is different, and this kind of conforms to who we are as a learner. We can go further than what we learn in class. And
I think a high would definitely be just the information that you can access with it, and it's a lot easier to get that information. And I think another high would be we can like connect with our classmates better. Like working on a Google Doc at the same time, like is really helpful. Like in our English class or AP Lit, we typed a group essay, and we each had a certain part to type, and it was easy and it was fast, and we got it done. It's easy to compare your work and like bounce ideas off of each other.
Using what? Just docs or?
Pretty much, yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, you could used to use like Google Hangouts, so they blocked it, and then you're just stuck with Google Docs.
Yeah.
Unless you gotta find like some bootleg video chatting website.
You know, maybe you might not get something done in class or anything like that. Might be electronically. You take it home and finish it. Probably just being able to learn more. You know, instead of just paper pencil type thing, it's more of a easier.
Do you feel like because you say it helps you learn more, do you feel like when you're typing up notes and taking in stuff that way, you review it more? Is that what you're saying, or how does that make it?
Not really.
Okay.
Notes wise, I probably like it more on paper.
Okay.
But doing my work, I'll probably like it more digitally because there's less writing and stuff.
Okay. So the writing aspect you like that you can type versus okay. What's your low?
Low, as he said, a distraction.
Yeah.
You know, some classes, you know, I might get done like really fast or something, or a teacher might be talking about nonsense, and I'll just be on my Chromebook just playing a game. So
Cool.
I snitched on myself.
We'll cut names out of this one. You're safe.
it can also be a distraction, obviously.
The management, because like in one class all we do is stuff on our Chromebook and we never do anything else, and it's really easy stuff, and that's all we do every day, and it's just not good at all.
Oh, swear. I just realized that we don't get on our Chromebook. We don't use paper at all.
And it's not like engaging stuff. Like, this is just an example, but one day our assignment was to we had a word, and then we had to find a picture of it online and paste it into a document, and that was it.
Yeah.
So it's just not very engaging and like engaging activities that we do.
Yeah. All right. So in the downside, which I've heard this a lot, so I'm glad you mentioned that because I hadn't heard anybody else say that yet, is that the improper utilization. So teachers bring in technology but not really do anything different with it. It's just replacing paper and pencil, and it's not really, you're not engaging all the cool stuff that you could be doing with it. Okay.
And one of the lows would be like some of the classes you can't really get on Chromebooks on. Like math is like you can't do math on the Chromebook. You'd have to do the pencil paper thing again.
And low, distraction, basically, and if they didn't have so much stuff blocked, it'd be like easier to maneuver around. Because like, say you're researching something, click on first link's blocked,
Yeah.
second link blocked, third link blocked.
Might as well go to the page and click it.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
So, and we're going to keep on going around, but I'm going to pause here for a second. So, as students, you're saying we have to find somebody to have less restriction on. I'm assuming these are academic sites you're looking for, right, when you're researching?
There's no big
Can you give some examples so I could bring that to somebody and be like, look, we're trying to do stuff here and this isn't working?
What do you mean, like unblocked?
Yeah, no. I mean, like, when you do your research and you're pulling up stuff, can you think of a specific, like, you're going to a database that you're trying to get to, or?
Well, I just typed in Google.
Oh.
You know, they give you a list of websites, and you're like, okay, click on the first one.
Gotcha, okay.
It just distracts me a lot more because I feel like I can like have like all my tabs open, and the teacher comes by, I just like switch on the other tab I'm supposed to be on, and like it just distracts me a lot.
Yeah, on that, I want to hear from all you guys, but on that distraction note, what percentage of your class would you say is distracted at any given time on Chromebooks?
50%.
50%?
Yeah, most of our classes probably.
Yeah,
Computer.
It kind of depends on the class too.
Yeah.
And where you're sitting at, how you're seating. Because if you're sitting where the teacher can see your screen,
Yeah.
they're always just like playing a game or something.
Right.
And if you're like right next to the teacher, you're most likely to be like
Doing your work.
doing your work.
Good tip for teachers: sit
Yeah.
where you can see the
So
computer
we can
screen.
see all the screens.
Well, it was more movie related, so they blocked Netflix.
They blocked everything.
They
Yeah.
have blocked
After they
everything.
blocked Netflix,
Unblocked games.
Yeah, unblocked games.
Yeah.
The only thing that made me mad was Netflix. I was kind of mad about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
Can't
would
catch
watch.
up on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's-
You know, after I get over work or something,
Yeah.
they say read a book. I wouldn't read. I'll probably watch a movie.
Think about a teacher who does integrate technology well. So not just sitting there the entire time, just not teachers doing nothing, but they're just working. I want a teacher who does something really well. So the teacher that you go in the room and like, you know what, I'm using the technology, but I'm having a good time. And it's not just, I'm not just glued to this computer all the time. So I want you to think about that for a second. Tell me what that teacher does well that you're like, I would love to see this in other classes because I'm not seeing it and it needs to happen.
All right.
Popcorn it.
So, man, I
You
really
can use
I know, I really wanna
So
say
for the good
names.
stuff, you can use names. I would say
Okay.
if it's bad ideas, I don't want to hear them.
shout out to Mr. Bracken.
What up?
But he uses Schoology more than any other teacher.
Yeah.
And he has all of his stuff really well organized into units and classes. And I like how he organizes it because other teachers, they just use Google shorteners for URLs and they put it on the board and they're like, hey, go to this website. And then, you know, it just gets cluttered on the computer. So, Mr. Bracken, he's got it down to a science.
So he is using Schoology. What is he doing on Schoology that's different than just having shorteners? What's the organization do for you?
All right. So he puts all of our PowerPoints for every lesson on there, and that really helps with personal studying. Also, I feel like just with his class, it's easier to study using the computers. And like right now, he has us reading an article and answering questions about it. And he's just like how he does it.
So let's talk tap time versus talk time for a second. What's the ratio there? Are you tap time? Are you talking like writing all the time on computers, or are you talking, or was there a ratio?
It's about 50-50.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Anybody else?
I have a really good example of that. The other day in AP Lit with Miss Patrick, we were having a discussion over a book we're reading, and we were on today's meet, and we were all in there together, and we were just like typing stuff out, and she recognized that it wasn't working, so we stopped that and just had a face-to-face class discussion. And in that class, we have a really good ratio of being on our Chromebooks and her teaching, and it works really well. I feel like I learn a lot in there.
I think it's cool that you're seeing that as a student. That teacher made a really quick change is what it sounds like. So trying to use technology, it wasn't working, went to plan B, and that worked out really well. So not being locked into the technology all the time is a plus.
I mean, some teachers can't do that because, like, some teachers, they have, like, lessons planned out on the computer. The computer don't work, then we ain't doing nothing. We just sitting around the whole class.
I had some classes where we didn't do nothing for the whole day. We just sat there and actually just did nothing, just talked about it.
Yeah.
And we didn't do she didn't have any papers, or just in case the technology didn't work.
Yeah.
And the computers, the Wi-Fi, I think, was down. And so we didn't do nothing the whole period. Just sat there.
There's nothing. Just
It was just nothing. She was like, oh, well, I had it playing on the computer, and now the Wi-Fi's down, so we're going to talk about it. And then we talked about it for like 10 minutes. And she goes, well, what do we do now?
Netflix.
She's like, we can do an exit slip. And we're like, we got like 40 more minutes left. And she goes, oh, well, well, just play your phones. And we're like, okay. Well.
Ouch. Yeah. Okay. So a big thing obviously is to have a plan B. Have something you can fall back on. That's what it sounds like. Because that's terrible for everyone. I don't think she's having fun or you guys at that point.
But I don't like a lot of papers.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah.
I mean, you should have a plan B, but don't like jump to the plan B before the plan A.
Yeah. But I mean, that's so like an appropriate way, like you were saying. Was that Miss Patrick that was doing that?
Mhm.
I mean, it was technology, but they just flipped to talking. It wasn't anything they would write down. Did you all record stuff too, or?
When we were talking,
Yeah.
No, we just had a discussion.
Yeah, that's just flipping over to what you do in today's meet. So I think that's Really cool example. Anything else? Something that we're doing really well.
I like a push. When I'm in a push, like my teacher, she puts it all in a photo. Actually, like we've been using that since we were like in East Middle.
Yeah.
So it actually helps a lot still now since everyone can actually access it and we don't have to go like to a lab and do it.
Yeah.
She puts like all of our like the day, like what we're doing today. She'll put it on there. She'll put our PowerPoint. We'll talk about it in class, and we can have a Google Docs open the same time we're looking at the PowerPoint, and then she's talking through it still, which is actually, it helps a lot more. If you have a question, you can ask her because she's talking about it and you don't have to research it as well.
So are you guys following along on a PowerPoint on your computers? That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Shout out to who was that? Who was that?
Miss Kelly.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. That we've kind of done some of this already, but this is the gripe rant time. So, what is happening with technology that's blowing your mind? You're like, please stop doing this. If I could give you a microphone and say, tell the teachers to stop doing this with technology, what would you say?
Well, I wouldn't say the teachers, but like the people that control like the stuff on the Chromebook, like don't block as much because then they just limit us to like certain stuff. We can't expand it more.
They rely too much on the Chromebooks instead of like paper.
What do you mean by rely too much? What is that?
They like they don't have like a backup plan for it. Like if the Chromebook is like people's Chromebook are dead. And, like most people don't bring their chargers to school because it just takes up too much space. And if the Chromebook's dead and nobody has a charger, then they don't have a backup plan for the kid.
Do you have any teachers that do that manage those really well? That say, I've got good plans in place for kids missing a Chromebook or whatever else? Because I want to hear about that.
Miss Godoy does. She usually has it where if your Chromebook is messing up or something, she can just give you the paper copy of it, which probably wouldn't like that. Or she just asks you to send it to her, what you have done, save it on Google Docs and send it to her.
Yeah.
Off somebody else's, and then she'll copy it, and you can just finish it on. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Any other management techniques that are working?
In some classes, like say like Keon don't got his Chromebook charged, then he got bum off mine, or like one teacher he has like his own Chromebook, but it's like not a Chromebook, it's like Lenovo or whatever, and he'll give him that to work on it, but it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You gotta do your own work.
One thing that's extremely frustrating, I know at least for me, in one of our classes, we, like for probably 2 or 3 straight weeks, we were staring at our Chromebooks for an hour and 15 minutes. And everything we did was on there. Like we had online books and online annotations, and it just wasn't working at all. And we have like this assignment that's due, and it's a 90% grade. And it's really hard to do that when you really don't know any of the information from the online stuff because you've been zoned out the whole time trying to stare at your Chromebook.
So I'm trying to make sense of like what you're saying here. So you're saying that like you guys had the Chromebooks open. What were you doing with her while they were open? Was it a lesson?
It was like, yeah, it was basically an online lesson. Like there was an online textbook, and we had to like annotate the textbook online and then go back to a different Google Doc and type out what we were learning, and that's just it just wasn't a good situation.
What would you think would work better in that situation?
Well, what we're doing now is a lot better. Like we watch a video and then we do a worksheet about that video, and then she gives us help, and then we work with our group, and then she teaches something, and then we watch another video, and it's a lot better.
So the Chromebook kind of gets those wheels turning, and then they kind of shut that off, and it becomes more of a involved process. Okay.
Also, the other day, our teacher had us watch like so many videos individually on our Chromebook, and I really didn't like that because, I didn't have any like earbuds, and so I had to get really close to my Chromebook, make sure I didn't distract anybody, listen close, and it was just terrible. I suggest that teachers don't do stuff, force the Chromebook when you can, do it together as a class.
Okay. So, yeah, so don't use the Chromebook if you don't have to, right?
Yeah.
Use it as an improvement, but if it's not going to be an improvement, ditch it and do something else. All right. So for students, I'm going to change gears for a second. We just got the Chromebooks in 8th grade, so I'm talking to a bunch of 8th grade students. what would you tell them? Like, what are some things that you've ran into and been like, I really wish I had known this. I really wish I had done this differently.
Don't play games in class.
Yeah.
Why not?
It's hard to catch back up.
It becomes
I
a
mean,
habit.
Yeah.
So, what have you done, I guess, to discipline yourself not to? Because that's hard to do.
Well, they block most of the good games, so so you gotta do your work now. And then the games you can play, like
Yeah.
Like, get your work done first and then
Play on the
play the game.
Work then play. Okay. Anything else popping up in terms of issues for you guys, the Chromebooks, that you want to relay some wisdom to the 8th graders?
Bring your charger to school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How big is that problem? How big is that?
It's
man,
really
I got
hard.
somebody use my charger every single class.
At first
Yeah.
it wasn't as bad, but now it's like every.
Nobody brings their charger.
Because I'm like the only one that brings my charger in like all my classes. So like, Chris,
I'm
have
the
your
same
charger.
way.
So you just like charge them some money or something like that?
I mean, I could, but you know.
Take 2 cookies? Good idea. All right. Anything else?
It's been pretty good so far.
Okay.
Yeah. And students, I feel like we could do more using the Chromebooks for personal study instead of just only in class.
Yeah.
I'm glad most people are taking them pretty seriously and not just like using them just for entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. All right, so what were my takeaways from this discussion? I've got about 5 or 6 I'd like to discuss, and I'd really like to hear what yours were as well. The first one is don't substitute. So the students hate it, and it takes away from their idea of what technology could and should be. So we talked last week about the SAMR model, where you have substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. And if you're just doing a substitution task, it might be a good idea to step back and say, do I need technology for this? If you don't, if you do a low-level task with technology, you're going to find distraction being a problem. And we heard that with the students. They were talking about 50% of that class, and it was a fast answer, guys. It wasn't like they just sit and think about it for very long. You heard me kind of start laughing about that. So if you're doing just a substitution task, and there's no functional improvement that technology brings to the table, it might be time to consider maybe not using technology for that assignment. All right, so number 2, teach your students to use databases. When I was talking to that one student about the Google search, which part of that's kind of a legitimate concern. I've gotten on the internet sometimes, and the website won't work that should work. And so part of that will have to be addressed by sending that information into the tech team and seeing if they can get those websites approved. But a big part of that with our student body is solved by teaching them to use databases. Now, Julie Webb has a great website set up for the Shelby County Library, and part of that is the databases. So teaching your student to use databases will hopefully reduce the amount of frustration spent when they're doing research projects, and it will also give them much more relevant results. Number 3, keep the lesson moving. So don't just let them sit in front of a screen without walking around and checking screens and checking tabs. Now, we all know, especially at this point of the year, who our sneaky students are. So definitely, maybe when you're doing seating charts or having them set up in their seats, have them so that their backs are facing you, so they don't know if you're looking at them and their screens are facing you. That was a great tip by some of the students about keeping an eye on screens. But the big thing that I picked up on also was, and so that one student was talking about how it's so much better now as the teachers maybe improved their use of technology in the classroom, learning to bounce from maybe a quick movie for a hook that gets them in to a discussion, to a reflection on the computer, and kind of bouncing around. And that movement keeps them engaged, keeps them occupied, and keeps them from getting bored and opening up more tabs. Okay, so the next one would be developing routines for falling back in malfunctions. We've experienced that this past couple weeks. So sometimes the Wi-Fi isn't working out the way we'd like it to. So that example with Miss Patrick, when there was a Today's Meet thing and it wasn't working out, and they just flipped to discussions, maybe a reflection. Having something built into the lesson so you can flip back to it quickly is going to avoid that really uncomfortable time where you don't really have a backup and you're scrambling last minute. All right, my next point would be to not be afraid to try. So this kind of goes back to that same example again with the process changing. So initially she was talking about how they were sitting in front of Chromebooks for the entire period and there was no real direct instruction going on. But over time, it evolved into an activity where they were using technology, but it wasn't the primary focus of the whole class. So don't be afraid to kind of mix it up and play around with it a little bit. And my last one kind of feeds into that little one. They kind of piggybacks on the back of that thought, which was don't just let them use the technology nonstop. So novelty tends to drive learning. When there's a change in the process, when there's something new and engaging. If it's every time they associate your classroom with opening up screens and staring at a screen for an hour and a half, they're gonna stop checking in. They're gonna check out mentally, and they're gonna be conditioned to do so. So don't be afraid to mix it up. All right. So what are your takeaways? Join the discussion on SoundCloud.com/SCHS-Rocketcast. So that's SCHS-ROCKETCAST. Or you can always contact me at James, that's JAMES, .Wampler, WAMPLER, at shelby.kyschools.us. All right, guys, that about wraps it up. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the RocketCast. I'm James Wampler. Hopefully this has been
One small step,
for thinking about your classroom that naturally leads to
one giant leap.
in your instruction. Love blue, live gold.
We got a roll program here. Neil Armstrong reporting the roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11 on a proper heading.